Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel Civil Construction and Tutor. And in this video I will show you how to design a rectangular footing with unequal projections. So we have a question: design a rectangular footing subjected to an axial load of 2700 kN and uniaxial moment mu 250 kN from a column of 600 by 400 mm dimension. One of the footing is restricted to, or one of the side of the footing is restricted to 3.5 meter. Take M20 concrete and Fe 415 steel. So basically it is more economical to design a rectangular footing with equal projections, but in some case where there is property restriction, then we have to design a rectangular footing with unequal projection. So taking M20 concrete and Fe 415 steel, we have FCK, that is the characteristic strength of the concrete, 20 Newton per mm square. Yield strength of steel is 415 Newton per mm square. BC into DC, this is the dimension of column, longer side as BC, so this is 600 by 400. PU, this is the service load, so 2700 kilonewton, and similarly unfactored moment is 250 kilonewton meter. Soil bearing capacity is given as 150 kilonewton per meter square. Now before designing, one thing we have to understand is, for uniaxial moment, that is the length of the footing is provided, or the longer side of the footing is provided at the direction, in the direction of the moment. So we are taking L in the direction of the moment. Now very first step is to calculate the area required for footing, and for calculating the area required for footing we'll consider the service load and the soil bearing capacity. Also for the self weight of the footing, as the depth is not calculated till now, so we'll consider an approximation value as 10% of the service load. So area required will be 1.1 times of the service load divided by SBC, soil bearing capacity. So this comes as 19.8 meter square. And according to the question, we have restriction of one of the side, that is the BF 3.5 meter. Then so if the value required for BF is less than 3.5 meter, then it won't be a restriction. But for now, as the required area is greater, so we have to restrict the width of the footing to 3.5 meter. And for area, we have area is equal to L into B, and cross multiply we get LF is equal to 19.8 divided by 3.5, so we get 5.65 meter. So this is the length required if we consider BF as 3.5 meter, providing a round of value, so 5.7 meter into 3.5 meter, and with this dimension the area provided will be 19.95 meter square, and this comes as a greater value than that of the area required, so it is okay. Now in figure we can see that the length of the footing is 5.7 meter and it is in the direction of the moment. Similarly width of the footing is 3.5 meter, and the projection L is the length of the overhang portion in the direction of the length of footing is L, only L, so this is LF. So L is equal to nothing but length of footing minus width of column, that is the longer side of the column, divided by 2, then we will get the length of the overhang. Similarly in the case of width, we will have B is equal to BF minus DC divided by 2, considering that this portion and this portion is equal. Similarly this portion and this portion is equal. So now the second step is to calculate the net upward soil pressure. Basically the footing is resting on the soil, then the soil will exert pressure on the base of the footing, and that is the net upward soil pressure, and we'll calculate the factor upward pressure. Okay, so don't get confused. Sigma max or minimum, this is the formula to calculate the net upward soil pressure. PD by A provided, that is the area provided, plus minus mu by Z. PD is the design load, mu is the moment about an axis, Z is the section modulus. So PD design load, as I said, it will be 1.5, that is the factor of safety, factored load, 1.5 into 1.1 considering the self weight of footing, into 2700, that is the service load, divided by area provided is 19.95, plus minus 1.5 into 250, that is the factored moment, divided by BF into LF square by 6, because we are considering the longer side, so BD square by 6, that is the general formula for sectional modulus of an rectangular section. Now there is a certain difference for the shorter side and the longer side, because along the longer side we have axial load and moment acting, but in case of the shorter side we will have only axial load acting. So the pressure distribution will be different for this longer side and shorter side. In case of the longer side, as we have moment, the pressure distribution will be of non-uniform type, that is one of the A's will have minimum value and the other A's will have the maximum value. Whereas in the shorter side, so considering this as the shorter side, as there is axial load only, there is no moment in this direction, so it will have a uniform pressure distribution at the base of the footing. Okay, so that is the term MUZ will be 0. Hence along longer side we have sigma max and sigma minimum considering the plus minus sign. So we'll have sigma max as 243.1 kilonewton per meter square and sigma minimum as 203 kilonewton per meter square. So you can see sigma max 243 at one edge, and at the another edge we have sigma minimum 203.1 kilonewton per meter square. Similarly for the shorter edge, as there is no mu by z term, so the pressure will be dependent on the axial load only, and the pressure distribution will be uniformly done in the or on the surface. So sigma is equal to PD by area required, we can say provided. Sigma is equal to 223.1, which is basically the average of these two values. So now the next step is to check for bending. Length of the overhang portion. So along the longer side, the length of the overhang portion is L, that is equal to LF minus BC divided by 2. So this comes as 2.55 meter. Resisting width. So this is a pad footing, that is the uniform shape, that is there is no variation in the depth of the footing as in case of the sloped footing. So the entire width of the footing is responsible or is available for resisting the bending, and hence the resisting width will be equal to the width of the footing. And along longer direction, the width of the footing will be 3.5 meter. Okay, 3.5 meter. And the critical section of for bending is at the face of the column. So the maximum bending arises at the face of the column, and hence we can consider this as a cantilever beam, as the maximum bending arises at the support with one end being free. And similarly, the cantilever beam is being subjected to non-uniform pressure through the swell. So we'll analyze the bending moment at this face respective of the swell pressure at the face as well as at the edge. In case of uniformly distributed load, the swell pressure at the face of the column as well as at any point of the footing is same throughout the section, so it won't be a confusing case. But for the uniform non-uniform swell pressure, the section or the pressure at different section will be different, so we have to calculate the exact pressure at each section. So for now, at the face of the column, swell pressure is equal to this much height, so we have to calculate this value. So dividing this non-uniform loading into two regular section, that is triangle and rectangle, we can find the swell pressure at the face of the column. So let us forget this sigma minimum first. Firstly, I will explain this. So this is basically from the similar triangle rule. So we have this triangle and we can break this into two triangles. Now using the similar triangle, height divided by base. So height by base is equal to height by base of the two triangles respectively. And here you can see sigma max minus sigma minimum. So basically the height of this triangle will be equal to sigma max minus sigma minimum divided by this length, which is LF, is equal to height of this triangle divided by width or length of this triangle. So basically cross multiplying, we'll get sigma max minus sigma minimum divided by LF divided is equal into L plus B. So basically this is the length of the overhang portion plus width of the column, so L plus BC. Now sigma minimum, why? It is, we will find this much height and adding the value of sigma minimum, considering this as a rectangle, we will get the swell pressure at the face of the column. So this comes as 225.39 kilonewton per meter square. Swell pressure, that's this is sigma bending, or we can say at sigma face. Okay, so with this value we can find the bending at the face of the column. So for calculating the bending moment for the longer side, we have bending moment is equal to F1 into L by 2 plus F2 into 2L by 3. Basically this is force into perpendicular distance, and we are considering this as a trapezoidal shape because the non-uniform distribution of the swell pressure, and we have to find the bending moment considering face of column and the loading. So the loading at this overhang is equal to this trapezoidal. So it is summation of 1 plus 2, that is rectangle and triangle. So firstly we'll calculate this area of this rectangle, and then area of this triangle. So the area of this triangle will be equal to sigma face, because this value is equal to the bending swell pressure at the face of the column. So sigma face multiplied by L. So this will give the area of this rectangle, length, this is L, that is the overhang portion, into BF. So it will be distributed along the width of the footing. So sigma face into L into width of the section. So this comes as the force. 225.4 is the sigma face, that is the swell pressure at the face of column, into length of the overhang 2.55 into width of the section 3.5. So this comes as 2011.695 kilonewton. So this is the value of the rectangular section. Now F2, this is basically the triangular portion. So for the area of the triangle we have 1 by 2 into, so this is the sigma max, this value. Now if we subtract sigma face, then we'll get this much, so which is the height of this triangle. So 1 by 2 into height sigma max by sigma face into width is L, and it will be distributed along the width, so into BF. I hope you can get this point. Now you substitute the value, we'll get 78.98 kilonewton. So this is the value of F1 and F2. Now we have to calculate the bending moment, and basically bending moment is equal to force into perpendicular distance. So force F1 into L by 2, L by 2 being the centroid of this rectangle, plus F2 into 2L by 3 for the triangular portion at the apex. The bending the centroid lies at distance 2L by 3 from the apex. So 2L by 3. Now substitute the value 2011.695 as F1, plus L is 2.55 divided by 2, plus F2 is 78.98 into 2 into L is 2.55 divided by 3. So this comes as 2699.18 kilonewton meter. So this is the bending moment along longer side. Now calculating depth required according to the bending moment. So we'll calculate the depth according to the bending moment, and from SP16 table C for Fe415 steel we have mu by FCK BD square is equal to 0.138. So this is the index that we'll get from the SP16, and depth required, if we cross multiply and simple mathematical calculation, we'll get the depth as 472.8 mm. So this is the moment, okay, the depth satisfying the moment condition. Similarly along the shorter side, bending moment is equal to, so for the shorter side, as there is no any variation in the pressure distribution, so it will be easier to calculate the bending moment. So here you can see sigma face into LF. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm distributing the stress or pressure along the length of the footing, okay, LF. So that means I'm converting this into UDL. So this will come as 223.1 into 5.7 as the length of footing into B square by 2. Basically for a cantilever section, bending moment is equal to UDL into length of the span into length of span divided by 2. So that means we'll get B square by 2, because the span of the cantilever section is B in the direction of width or shorter side. So we get 1529 kilonewton meter. So along shorter side and longer side we have got the bending moment. Now for depth according to the bending moment, considering the moment of the shorter side, we get, this is just, I'm just cross multiplying this, 1529 into 10 to the power 6 is equal to 0.138 into FCK into B. So the resisting width for the shorter side will be LF. Don't get confused with this. For this it was 3500, because for the longer side the resisting width will be the width of the footing, but for now that is the along the shorter side the resisting width will be LF. So that's why 5700, and in this case 3500. So D required is square, so we get the depth as 279 mm considering the moment along shorter side. So we'll get, or we'll provide the value greater of these two, because we cannot provide depth different in different axes. We have to provide a uniform depth. Hence maximum value of the two depths we have calculated. So provide effective depth D as 1020 mm. So why 1020 mm? We have just calculated 479 mm. Basically the value that we have calculated is sufficient for the bending moment, but we have to check for the one-way shear and two-way shear as well. So it is better to provide 2 to 3 times greater than that of the value we have just calculated for one-way shear to reduce our time. So for now I'm just taking twice the value, so nearly about 1020 mm as the effective depth. So the depth provided is 1020 mm. The next step is to calculate the area of steel required for our section. So the area of steel is calculated with the bending moment, and for this we have code IS 456-2000 clause G.1.1c, page number 96. So Mmax is equal to 0.87 Fy AST into D 1 minus AST Fy by BD FCK. So we'll consider the maximum moment, and we'll calculate the area of steel for longer side as well as the shorter side. So this is for the longer side. So Mx, we have just described the formula. So Mx along the longer side was 2699.18, and converting this into mm, Newton mm, so 10 to the power 6, 0.87 into 415 into AST, as this has to be calculated. Depth provided is 1020 into 1 minus AST into 415 divided by 20 into 3500 into 1020. So just substituting the value, the resisting width for the longer side will be the width of the footing, so 3500, and this may be different for the sloping footing, okay, with the sloped surface. On solving, just using the calculator, we get the value of area of steel as 7601 mm square. Don't get confused, this is mm square, not mm square per meter. Percentage of steel required is equal to area of steel required divided by the gross area, that is the area of the concrete, into 100%. So considering the depth as 1020, 7601 1020 into 3500, we get this B into D. Basically this is D into B, we can say. We get this as 0.213, and minimum area of steel required according to the code is 0.12% of the concrete area. So we are with 0.213, which is greater than 0.12, so this is okay. Now let us provide our bar of size 20 mm. Then the spacing required will be equal to dimension of this section, or we can say width of the section, divided by area of steel provided divided by area of rebar, individual rebar per rebar. So 3500 is the resisting width divided by 7601 is the area of steel required, or we can say provided. Area of rebar is pi by 4 into 20 square, so considering 20 mm bar. So the spacing comes as 145 mm, and in general practice we provide the spacing in the multiple of 25, so the nearer value to 145 is 125 mm. So providing 520 mm at 125 mm center to center, and this reinforcement is parallel to longer side. I will show you the reinforcement drawing later on. So, and this value should be less than 180 mm to consider or to ensure there is no cracking, or to ensure safe from crack according to the IS code, okay, table 18. Area of steel provided. Now as we have provided spacing 125, so we'll have to calculate area of steel provided again. So 3500 divided by area of steel provided, so we'll just cross multiply spacing of rebar, so 145 divided by pi by 4 into 20 square, so this should be 125. The value is correct, just 125. 8796.5 mm square, which is greater than that of the value required. So percentage of steel provided is equal to 8796.5 divided by the area, concrete area, so 1020. So we get this value as 0.246, which is slightly greater than that of the required one. So but it is okay, ensuring the workability inside. So 0.246. Now let us calculate the area of steel along the shorter side, or for shorter side. So for calculating the area of steel for the shorter side, we have to consider the bending moment of that side. So we have 1529 kilonewton meter. But one thing that we get a little bit different here is that as we have unequal projection, so the area of steel has to be divided, or has to be provided in a different pattern. So here you can see outer band, central band, and outer band along the longer side, and basically that is from the code. Okay, before that let me calculate the area of steel required. So if we arrange this formula in terms of AST at the LHS, then we get a formula in this fashion. So it will be much more easier to calculate. So AST is equal to 0.5 FCK by FY into 1 minus under root 1 minus 4.6 times of BM by FCK BD square. So here you can see, now substitute the value. The bending moment will be 1529, and the resisting width for the shorter side is the length of the footing, that is 5700. Don't get confused. And the depth will be 1004. Okay, it will be smaller than that of the value we have provided for the longer side. We have to reduce one number of bar for that side. So considering this as the depth of footing, we are calculating the area of steel along shorter side. So the reinforcement will be, and along longer side it should be something like this. So the effective depth for shorter side will be capital D minus clear cover minus bar minus 5 by 2, that is this. And for the longer side, the effective cover is D minus clear cover minus the horizontal bar. So we have provided phi as 20, and for the another case I am assuming it to be 16. Sorry, we'll get 1002 this value. So percentage of now substitute the value, then we get area of steel required as 4282 mm square. Then percentage of steel required is equal to 4282 divided by area of concrete 5700 into 1002. So this is the resisting width into 100. So this comes as 0.07 percentage, which is very less as compared to the minimum steel required. So the minimum area of steel required is 0.12% of concrete area, which is not okay. So we will provide at least 0.12% of the steel. Then the area of steel provided will be 0.12 times of B into D. Then we get the value as 7387 mm square. So this will be the area that will provide along the shorter edge. Now considering phi as 16 mm, previously we provided 20 mm bar, but for now I am providing 16 mm bar. Since it is on rectangular footing with unequal projection, hence according to the clause 34.3.1.c IS 456-2000, the total area of steel has to be redistributed in central band and outer bands along the shorter direction. Okay, so here you can see in the code also, in two-way reinforced rectangular footing, the reinforcement in the long direction shall be distributed uniformly, which we have already done. But for a shorter direction, a central band equal to the width of the footing shall be marked along the length of the footing, and portion of the reinforcement determined in accordance with the equation given below. So this will be the equation as which the reinforcement will be distributed. So we have the width of the central band should be equal to the width of the footing, that is the shorter dimension of footing, and this will be equal to 3.5 meter, and the reinforcement will be placed parallel to the short direction, that is along the longer edge. So don't get confused that the area of steel that we have provided calculated previously will be provided parallel to the longer side, that is along the longer or along the shorter side and parallel to the longer side. Don't get confused with the terminology. So the width of the central band is calculated. Now area of steel for central band is taken as 2 by beta plus 1 into area of steel provided, that we have calculated. So beta is nothing but the ratio of longer span to the shorter span of the footing, and substituting the value of AST as 7387, we get this as 5620.6 mm square. So 5620 mm square should be provided in the central band, that is near the column. So considering phi as 16 mm, spacing required will be 3500 by, as we have already done this formula, so width of the section divided by 5620.6 divided by 201. So this is the width of the section 3500, area of steel in this width, and area of individual bar. So pi d square by 4 we get 201. So this comes as 125 mm, and as I have said, we'll provide the spacing in multiples of 25 considering the site work, that is easiness in the site. So providing 16 mm bar at 125 mm for the central band, which is parallel to shorter side. We could have provided by phi as 20 in this case also, but I wanted to show difference in the reinforcement detailing along the shorter edge and the longer edge. So I am providing different bar diameter. Okay, that is the difference here. I'm not considering the economical aspect, just I'm trying to show how to show different bar size in the different direction. Calculated area has been distributed along the central band, but for the outer band we have to do it in the different term. So the area of steel to be provided is 7387 mm square, and the area of steel required for the central band was 5620. Then the if we subtract this two value, then we'll get the area of steel required for the outer band. So that is the simple concept. Width of each outer band, firstly we'll calculate the width of the outer band. So we have 5.7 minus 3.5 divided by 2, so we'll get the width of each outer band, and the remaining reinforcement to be provided is area of steel provided minus area of steel central band. So we get this as 1766.4 mm square, and we have to distribute in each band, so we get divided by 2 and we'll get 883.2 mm square. So this is the remaining reinforcement, or the reinforcement to be provided along the shorter edge or the outer band. So and the spacing required considering this 1100, that is the width of the outer band, divided by area of steel provided 883.2 divided by 201, that is the area of individual bar providing 516. So this comes as 250 mm. So we have to provide a bar at a spacing of 250 mm, and considering the crack spacing, that is the spacing to avoid crack, which should be less than 180 mm, and considering the multiple of 25, we will provide 516 mm bar at 150 mm for the outer band. Then the area of steel provided for outer band as a whole is equal to 2 into width of the outer band divided by spacing provided divided by area of individual bar, 2948 mm square. Then the total area of steel along, or we can say parallel to shorter side, is equal to 5620.6 for the central band and 2948 for the outer band. So this comes as 8568 mm square, which is greater than that. This area is still required, so it is okay. And finally the overall depth, so I just wanted to make clear about this, 1080 mm dx 1080 minus, okay, firstly let me show you the reinforcement detail. So this is the reinforcement detailing about footing, that is the depth is provided as 1060 mm as the overall depth, and along longer direction, that is parallel to longer direction, the distribution or the main bar is 20 mm at 125 center to center, as we have calculated. So provide 20 mm bar at 125 mm center parallel to longer side, and if you see this line, horizontal line, is the bar of 20 mm at 125 center to center spacing. Similarly, along the shorter end, that is parallel to shorter end, we have provided 16 at 125, as well as, so for the central band we have calculated 16 mm bar at 125 mm center to center spacing, and for the outer band we have calculated 516 mm bar at 150. So here you can see at the outer band we have 16 at 150, 16 at 150, and for the central band we have 16 at 125. So these circles are the bar which is provided parallel to the shorter end along the longer direction. And effective depth, so here you can see D is 1080 mm, and if we subtract dx 1080 minus 50 as the clear cover minus dx, so here you can see dx, so we are subtracting 1080, so we get this as 50 clear cover minus the half of this bar, so this is nothing but 20 by 2 because the bar along the longer direction is 20 mm, so we get 1020 mm. Similarly, dy, it will be, if we see in this direction, then we will see the circle at the base and the horizontal line which is the rebar provided along parallel to shorter direction. So 1080 minus clear cover minus 5, that is 20, minus 16 divided by 2, so we'll get 1002 mm. So this is how I calculated it. Okay, so as you can see here, the overall depth is 1.08 meter, and as per clause 34.5 from IS 456, the nominal reinforcement for a concrete section of thickness greater than 1 meter shall be 3.360 mm square per meter length in each direction on each face. So that means we have to provide a nominal reinforcement, and considering nominal reinforcement from the code as 360 mm per mm square per meter, for our case we will provide phi is equal to 8 mm at 125 mm spacing, then the area of steel provided will be 402 mm square per meter, so it is also in per meter. Then it will be provided along both direction in the top face. We will not provide this in the bottom face because we have already computed the reinforcement for the bottom face, but for the top face, as we are not providing any reinforcement, so according to the code, for a section greater than 1.0 meter there shall be nominal reinforcement, that is the provision of nominal reinforcement, which is 360 mm square per meter. So let's modify our drawing. So here you can see at the top I am providing phi 8 at 125 mm center to center. This is the nominal reinforcement. Now the next step is to check for one-way shear, and basically the critical section is at a distance D, which is 1020 mm from the face of the column, and we are checking along the longer edge, and the resisting width is 3500 mm because along the length the resisting width is the BF. And swell pressure at distance D, so as I have said that we are computing, or the critical section for one-way shear is at a distance D from the face of the column, so we have to find the swell pressure at this distance. So now we are finding this value, and the critical section is at distance D from the face of the column. So swell pressure at distance D. Now let me show you how to calculate this. So again we will assume this as a triangle. Now for now it will be this triangle and this. So again the same idea, I hope you can understand, but for now it will be L plus BC plus D, because before we have to find at the face of the column, but for now we are trying to find at a distance D from the face of the column. So plus D. Substitute the value and we'll get this as 232.36 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, so the shear force at a distance D is nothing but 232.36 kilonewton per meter square, and the shear force at the critical section, we have to find the shear force at the critical distance, and shear force is for a cantilever beam is nothing but W into L minus D. So that means if this is a UDL, for now I am just assuming as UDL, and the span being L, if I have to find shear at a particular distance D along the span, then it will be W, which is nothing but uniformly distributed load, WDL, UDL, so W into L minus D. So similarly W, this is nothing but UDL, because for now we'll take the average value. So for finding the shear force in this phase, that is at this shaded portion, the shear is average of these two values. So the swell pressure into BF distributing along the depth, we can say along the width, so average of these two values multiply by the width of the footing, we will get the UDL into B minus D. B is nothing but the, this should be L. Okay, L minus D, then we can compute the maximum shear at the critical section. Substitute the value 3500 and we'll get 1273.2 kilonewton. Now maximum shear stress, according to IS 456 2000 clause 40.1, we have maximum shear stress tau max as VU by BD, where VU is the maximum shear and B is the resisting width into D is the depth at that section. So 1273.2 into 10 to the power 3, converting this into Newton. Substitute the value of B as 3500 and D as 1020. So we'll get 0.356 Newton per mm square. So this is the maximum shear stress. Now we'll have to calculate the maximum shear stress, or the maximum shear stress that the concrete can resist. So for P percentage of, or the percentage of concrete that we have provided is 0.246. I hope you can remember the value that we have calculated previously. So area of percentage of steel provided 0.246, and for M20 concrete the IS code says tau C to be as 0.362 Newton per mm square. So this I got with linear interpolation of the value which ranges between which ranges for 0.246. So tau C is 0.362 and the value or the maximum shear stress is 0.356. So we see that the shear strength of concrete is greater than that of the maximum shear stress acting. So it is okay for one-way shear along the longer edge. Similarly, along shorter edge, the resisting width will be 5700 mm and the shear stress, the swell pressure is 223.1 kilonewton per meter square, considering a uniformly distributed. So at a distance D, the shear stress is same, that is 223.1. So shear force is nothing but UDL into B minus D. So for now the length of the overhang along width is B. So 223.1 into 5700 as it is distributed along the length, 1.55 minus 1.020, 697.5 kilonewton. So shear force comes as 697.5 kilonewton and shear stress So substitute the value of B and D. B will be 5700. So this comes at 0.12 Newton per mm square. So it will be safe anyway because the value is very much less. If you see for M20 concrete, this much shear can be safe considering the minimum steel provided in the design, 0.12%. So you can compare the result in the table also. So now let us check for the two-way shear. For two-way shear, the critical section lies at a distance d by 2. The critical section for one-way shear lies at distance d, but for two-way shear it lies at a distance d by 2, which is 1020 divided by 2, 510 mm from the face of the column, and the check for two-way shear is done along the longer side only. Actual shear force is determined on basis of the center of cross section. So we'll take the average of the maximum and minimum value along the longer direction. So which is basically sigma max plus minimum divided by 2, and this comes as 223.105 kilonewton per meter square. So for two-way shear, the critical section is at distance d by 2 and it acts at the periphery, that is at a distance d by 2 from the face of column. So basically the punching means the column will penetrate into the footing, and that is known as the two-way shear effect. So that has to be encountered with the greater depth. If the depth of the footing is sufficient, then the column cannot penetrate into the footing. So we'll check for two-way shear, and the critical section is the green rectangle at a distance d by 2 from the face of the column. And perimeter of the resisting section, so it is nothing but d by 2 plus BC plus d by 2, and the width of this section is d by 2 plus DC plus d by 2, and considering this as a rectangle, the perimeter can be computed as 2 into L plus B. So 2 into this length, which is d by 2 plus BC plus d by 2, plus width of the rectangle d by 2 plus DC plus d by 2. So this comes as P is equal to 6.08 meters. So this is the perimeter of the resisting section. Similarly, we can calculate the area of resisting section. So basically this is the area of resisting section, okay, at a distance d by 2 and to a depth of d. So P into depth, that is the perimeter of the resisting section into depth, we get the area of resisting section as 6.2016 meter square. Two-way shear V punching is equal to sigma average, that is the value we have calculated, into unhedged area. Area of unhedged means, so if you see here, this is the critical section and we have to find the area of unhedged area or an unhedged section. So that is basically LF into BF minus area, or we can say area of this hedged area. Basically this is d by 2 plus BC plus d by 2, similarly d by 2 into DC plus d by 2. So that will be the area of the hedged area, and we'll calculate the punching shear with respect to this. This is the area of the concrete resisting the two-way shear, and this is the area of footing. So finally we will get the area of unhedged area by subtracting these two value, and this comes as 3947.39 kilonewton. So this is the two-way shear, that is the value of V punching. Now shear stress is equal to shear force divided by area of resisting section, and V punching is equal to 3947.39 into 10 into 1000, that is converting into Newton, divided by area of resisting section, which we have already done, 6.026, converting this into mm, so 1000 square, this comes at 0.65 Newton per mm square. And according to the IS code, we have to check for the shear strength of concrete, and we have shear strength of concrete as Ks into tau c. So this is from the IS code, and where Ks is nothing but 0.5 plus beta, and the value of beta is nothing but the ratio of longer side to shorter side of the column, and this value, the value of Ks should not be greater than 1. So if it comes greater than 1, then we'll take the value as 1 only. So for now it is 2, so we cannot take value greater than 1, so we'll take this Ks as 1, and tau c is nothing but 0.25 under root FCK. So for limit state method, this is taken as 0.25 under root FCK. 0.25 into under root 20, we are taking m20, so this comes as 1.118 Newton per mm square. And the final conclusion here you can see is, since tau c is 1.118 Newton per mm square and the maximum shear stress is 0.65, so the footing is safe in two-way shear. The final step is to check for development length, and IS 456-2000 says from page 42 clause 26.2.1 the development length will be equal to phi sigma s by 4 into tau bd, where phi is the diameter of the bar from the column. So considering the column having a maximum bar size of 20, so 20 into 0.87, sigma s is nothing but stress at the design load, so 0.87 into 415 divided by 4 into, this is the bond stress, and for M20 it is 1.2, and considering a deformed bar the value is increased by 60%, so 1.6, we get this value as 940 mm. Similarly, the available length for in the footing is B minus, we will take for the shorter side, because if the length is available in the shorter end, then it will obviously be available along the longer edge. So B minus D dash minus D dash. So what I am trying to show is, so this is the value if we consider this as the shorter edge for now, although it is a longer edge. So for now I am considering this as, so this is B, we will have a clear cover at this edge and for column as well, so it will cancel itself, so the remaining length will be available B. So available length will be equal to 1550. Okay, and since the LD is less than available length, so it is okay, there is no any restriction for the development length. And since the column is having moment along with axial force, some of the bars will be in tension, and the transfer of tensile bar is not possible through bearing phenomenon, that is the transfer of force from column beam interface. Hence we have to provide a rebar into the footing to ensure the transfer of the load. Hence we will extend the column bar into the footing up to a development length LD to ensure that there is a transfer of force from column to footing without any failure.